Hello, my name is Rihanna Greenhagen, and today I'll be presenting my toy adaptation for children with differing abilities. Since my practicum site did not have a child with a disability, I decided to base my toy adaptations off a 15-month-old Elliot from Raising Our Blind Baby, who is visually impaired as a result of a rare condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis. Because Elliot is visually impaired, he lacks motivation to look up and explore, resulting in several delays in physical developmental milestones, including crawling, standing, walking, and holding his head up. In addition to the motivation to get up and explore, his visual impairment results in a reduced stimulation in his sensory experience. Oftentimes, many people hypothesize that Elliot is often observed pushing his fists into his eyes really hard in order to achieve some sort of visual or neurological stimulation. And this is a bad behavior that our mom and dad were instructed to stop as much as they can because it can cause the eyes to sink in the critical ages of development. So the toy I chose to adapt is a Cocomelon piano. I found it at Target for $11.99, and it's pretty small, which is why it was probably $11.99. It does serve the purpose of this assignment very well. However, if I were to actually adapt a toy like this for a center classroom that I was in, I would definitely opt for a bigger one. If the center had one, that'd be great. Otherwise, I would probably buy one. The reason being is because I would prefer that the keys were bigger, so I can put more stuff on there or make it easier to secure some of these things that I put on the keys. Also, the piano does not have the capability to turn it on or off. So if you like play this button here is just to turn the music off. So anytime you touch this, it's gonna make noise no matter what. It also doesn't have any capability of turning the volume up or down. In this case, I think that with Elliot's particular condition, his visual impairment, even though he does crave stimulation, and audio features of toys can probably fulfill that in some sort of way, I also think that it can often also be a little overstimulating. So again, I would like to choose one that had the capability to turn up or down. Despite the things that I don't like about it, I really do like that it's Cocomelon. Even though he is blind, Elliot is blind. In the video, Mom is shown playing Cocomelon on her TV, and it assumably frequently. I'm not sure what their exact routine is, but Cocomelon is also like super relevant to I think pretty much all little children. I know my daughter really enjoys Cocomelon. My nephew really enjoys Cocomelon. Most babies that I worked with in the past also enjoyed Cocomelon. So it's not only relevant to Elliot's specific interests, it's also relevant to if let's say if he was in a daycare center in an infant room, it would be relevant to all the children in the group's interest, which makes for more of a meaningful learning experience. Also, so my specific adaptations are I secured different textures to each of the keys. This one is a soft Velcro piece. This one is like the scratchy part. This is a sandpaper piece. This is sequin that you can like flip up and down. This is burlap. This I actually cut off of a gift wrapping bag. It's smooth and you can see that it's a little metallic, but it's got these little grooves in there, and when you run your finger up and down, you can feel those grooves. These are just two cut pieces from a sweatshirt string that I don't use anymore. I like that it's just like standard cloth material, which is something that he might be exposed to like pretty frequently. But I also like that I was able to fit two on here. So, and this one's like a little bit taller and this one's a little bit flatter. So when he runs his finger, he's going to feel that like difference. And then, but they're also going to have like the same like material feel. And then this is velvet, and this is just nothing. I wanted to do something smooth and plain, and the keys were already like that, so I just left this one blank. This one is so what I did is I took two pieces of cardboard and cut them out in the shape of the key. And then I took this piece of yarn right here and I glued it with hot glue in between, on both sides, in between the two pieces, after I secured these little beads on there so Ellie could go up and down with them. However, after I did it and I already glued it, I realized that beads are quite hazardous for a baby room because of their size. So I think a better way to do this, if I were to actually put this in an infant room, would be to, instead of using the yarn, I think I would use like a pipe cleaner because it's a little bit more durable and sturdy than this yarn piece. And then also I would actually use a different glue. I don't think I would go with hot glue. I would try to find, I know there is glue out there that's stronger than hot glue and that is also safe for babies and non-toxic. So I would just have to look more into that. It's just something I really didn't consider until after I'd already secured it to the key. And then another thing is, so the next key is just like more pieces of yarn. They're different colors and different sizes, but they all kind of have the same feel right there. This piece is fun. I was really excited to find this. I found this at Dollar Tree. Well, pretty much everything here I found at Dollar Tree or at my house. This is just like a big tube, and it kind of, when it's in its tube, it behaves like a Chinese finger trap. So like when you push it together, it's like big and you can stick your fingers in there, but then if you pull it apart, like it gets smaller and then your fingers get kind of stuck in there. And it's got like this squishy, like netty texture to it. So it's like squishy. And then it's also got like a net feeling to it. Again, because it's kind of like that Chinese finger trap. When it's up here and in between these two black keys, it's like smaller because it's scrunched up. And then to make it fit, expand to like the whole white part of the key, the bottom part of the key, it gets a little bit bigger. I think that's actually pretty cool because it's like more squishy the wider it is, and it's like less squishy the higher it gets. So it's like the same texture, but it also just provides a little bit different, a little variety in that sensory experience there. Then this is just a fur piece that I found from a cat toy, also at Dollar Tree. And this is another thing that I would do a little bit differently if I were to do this for an actual infant room, and also if I had a bigger keyboard. I would either choose a more expensive material, or not expensive material, but just better quality. I would probably go to like Joann Fabrics or maybe like Michael's, or maybe order something online, because when I cut this, all of this fur just kind of started like falling out of it. So there is a little bit of like a bare part here, and that doesn't really concern me as much as just the fact that like they can like pull the fur out, and that's not really good for them. So again, I would choose like a more quality material here. And then this last piece is like a squishy thing. It's made of silicone, I believe, and it's like very similar to the texture of like silicone poppet fidget things, except it feels more squishy. I would almost compare it to slime. So then the last thing I added were these little like these little beads things, and I tried to do a pattern with them. What they are is they're like little beads, but they're like almost cut in half, so I was able to just like secure them right to the top of these keys. The pattern here is 3 2 1 2 3. Again, if I had a bigger piano with more keys, I'd be able to like continue this pattern like longer, but I didn't. So I decided to leave two of the keys without anything, again, just to like give some more like smooth textures for him, or any child who's visually impaired. And then I just have more like a 2 and then a 1 here. I did this to provide children like Elliot who are visually impaired with some sort of like numerical patterns and sequencing exposure. I mean, it's kind of hard to teach that, I feel, for children who are blind, so something like this I think would really benefit them. So aside from just those little like sensory additions, the toy is a little versatile, and I did this because I really also, in addition to just sensory, I really also wanted to do something that would address the physical developmental needs he needs. So like I mentioned earlier, he experienced a lot of delays in physical development because he didn't really have motivation to really look up, so he doesn't explore as much. He didn't lift his head up as soon as other babies. I believe in the video, Mom said that he didn't do it until 5 months, and babies normally do it around 3 months. So the toy can be played on the floor for like younger visually impaired babies, and for babies with like lower muscle tone in their neck and with like a lower capacity to hold their head up for longer periods of time. But I also put, so these are like command strips, like the picture hanging ones. They're really durable and they don't come off like very easily at all. And then I have here, which is why I'm on the floor here, because I really wanted to kind of show you. So as I said before, Elliot is 15 months old. So I'd imagine he's about yay high. But you would just stick it right to the wall on the command strips, and he can crawl and then bring himself up to a standing position and play with the stuff from a standing position. This is to encourage him, again, to have more motivation to get up and explore and exercise those gross motor muscles. And then this is also really good for scaffolding his physical development, because these so these will just stay on there always, but as he gets a little bit stronger, let's say if we introduced this toy to him when he had like just started crawling and he still didn't have like a lot of stamina to hold his head up for very long, we could put this lower for him so he could maybe just sit and do it and hold his head up. And then as he gains strength, we just make it a little bit higher and then a little bit higher. And I think right now, like, this would suit his developmental needs right now and meet him where he's at. But if we wanted to kind of push him to the next step, I think we could go a little bit higher. And these are pretty long. You don't have to have them exactly on. I could just stick them a little bit up like this. So then it's a little bit higher. And maybe actually I would just put something, maybe we would just put more, like move the command strips up or just get new ones that are higher. But you, again, the whole point is that you could stick it up a little bit higher, which would cause him to have to actually like look his head up in order to reach the toys or the keys, which I think would be really cool, because in the video you see Elliot kind of like looking down all the time. I believe one of the times that when I was watching it, I believe I counted 4 times just during like a short period of time when Mom and Dad were doing a little photo shoot with him. And that's when she said that, that's when Mom said that that's because he didn't have a lot of motivation to look up. So he was a little bit delayed in some of his physical milestone achievements. So lastly, I just wanted to touch on some of the opportunities that this also gives, aside from just stimulation, the numerical patterns and sequencing, and then the scaffolding opportunities for the physical development. I also wanted to touch on how this kind of provides children with visual impairments a little bit more opportunities to refine some social emotional development skills. Sorry. Because he can't see, a lot of people, I mean, he's shown, Mom in the video is like exposing him to books and having him flip the pages, and she buys a lot of books with like textures in it, and that is something that we can totally do for Elliot. If I was his teacher, I would totally do something like that for him. But I think like something like this would be a good like substitute or something to like alternate in between just the books. I mean, I could sit with Elliot and do this, and we could do this together, and as he's pushing the keys, I can describe and label all of those sensory experiences for him, and it could be a really good bonding experience for us, which is good for which is really good for encouraging him to develop like strong, loving and trusting bonds with his caregiver. Also, because as I mentioned before, so something I forgot to mention in this part of the video is the support it provides for language development. So just like I mentioned earlier, how it can be a bit difficult to teach visually impaired children math skills like numerical patterns and sequencing, it can also be a bit difficult to teach visually impaired children language skills, as most frequently, the teaching strategies most frequently used when teaching these skills are very visual. It's very common to see words and letters posted around the room with their visual representations, in addition to them being integrated into like group discussions and teachings. It's also highly encouraged to read to children to support language development. However, to a visually impaired child, the visual representations and cues, which are often key in teaching these skills, are very useless if the child can't see them. Much like a book provides support in language and emotional development, the interactions like the one I just described, where I'm sitting down with Elliot and we're touching the different keys and I'm describing the sensory experiences for him, provide support in a very similar way. instead of just verbally labeling and describing the sensory experiences of the different textures, I could use my finger to touch his chin or his neck to highlight the physical sensations we feel when we produce the different sounds of spoken language. So for example, if we're sitting together and we're touching the sandpaper, I could say something like, ooh, that feels different. It feels scratchy. And then when I say scratchy, I could put my finger on his chin for the s sound, and then to his neck for the k sound, and then back to his chin for the ch sound, and so on. So it could sound something like this. Ooh, it feels scratchy. Scratchy. The modifications I made to this toy, I think are super cool and very beneficial. But I think what makes this toy truly special are the opportunities it provides for engaging in meaningful teaching practices. In any situation or environment, it isn't so important that teachers are able to recognize teachable moments that occur naturally, so that we can maximize the potential in all learning experiences. Also, because, as I mentioned before, that this suits the needs of both Elliot and other children in the group, I think that it also provides really good opportunity for social interactions with his peers. As again, it's kind of small, so it might cause a little, this particular one might not be the greatest for social interactions, but I think it would still be okay. I think what would be even better for social interactions with peers is, like I said earlier, if I had like a bigger one, because then there'd be more space for like 2 or maybe even 3 babies to do this all together. And he would just be engaging with them, playing with all these different sounds and feeling all these different textures. And I feel like that would be really good for his social and emotional development. So yeah, that is my toy. I hope you like it.